Sometimes the smallest moments can spark the biggest arguments. We're going to dive into a story that, on the surface, is just a super awkward encounter at a traveling fair. But this one moment, it triggered thousands of comments and a truly massive online debate. So, what was the question that caused this huge social firestorm? Let's get into it.
Wow. Yeah, that was the actual title of the Reddit post that set everything off. It's a real gut punch of a headline, right? It just drops you right into the middle of this incredibly uncomfortable situation, and honestly, it sets the stage perfectly for all the drama that came next.
All right, so first things first. Let's break down what actually happened at this fair, right by the coaster. So here's the play-by-play. A 14-year-old girl is about to get on a little kiddie coaster, and the ride operator looks at her and asks, "Are you pregnant?" She's obviously mortified and says no, and then adds that she's only 14. He just kind of scoffs and doesn't apologize. Now, she was ready to just forget it, but her brother? Nope. He goes and tells their mom, who, in the poster's own words, becomes livid. She marches over, confronts management, gets a full refund, and then makes the employee give a public apology right there.
As you can imagine, the second this story hit the internet, it kicked off this huge debate about the legal side of things, about liability.
And really, the entire argument boiled down to this one question. Whose job is it, really, to keep riders safe? Is it up to the company to just post warning signs and then trust you to follow them? Or does the responsibility fall on the employee to actually step in if they think they see a potential danger? This question became the heart of the whole thing. The comment section basically split right down the middle. In one corner, you had people saying, hey, this was probably a minimum wage worker just trying to prevent a horrible accident. But in the other corner, people were like, good intentions or not, you just don't ask a stranger that question. It's a huge invasion of privacy. Then someone in the comments brought up a really interesting legal concept, assumption of risk. So the idea here is pretty simple. Once a business puts up a clear warning sign, pregnant people should not ride, they've basically done their legal duty. If you decide to get on that ride anyway, that risk, it's on you now. And this is where it all gets so fascinating, right? Because you have two totally different ways of looking at it, and both kind of make sense. On the one hand, you've got the human argument. This was just a guy trying to do the right thing, trying to stop a potential tragedy. But on the other hand, you have the procedural argument. The company put up the signs, that's the rule, and this employee crossed a line. It's like this classic clash between personal gut feelings and just following the book. But of course, because it's the internet, the conversation got even more layered. People started pointing out, well, signs aren't a perfect fix, are they? What about people who can't read? And then one user dropped this bombshell of a statistic. Over 20% of adults in America are functionally illiterate. That completely changes the game, doesn't it? It complicates the whole idea that a sign is always enough. And it kicked off a whole side discussion about using universal symbols or pictograms. Okay, so setting the legal debate aside for a minute, there was an even bigger social firestorm happening, and this one was all about the mom. Yeah, for a lot of people, the employee's question wasn't even the main issue anymore. It was the mother's reaction. Was she a hero standing up for her daughter, or did demanding a public shaming and a refund go way, way too far? People could not agree. So on one side, you had people fully celebrating what the mom did. They saw it as necessary accountability. Like this one commenter put it, that ride operator needed to be shamed. Bravo, we need more of that in the world. For them, a public mistake requires a public consequence. Simple as that. But then you had the total opposite take. This one user wrote that the mom sounded like a total Karen, using that famous internet term for someone who blows things up to get what they want. For this whole group of people, the mother's reaction wasn't just over the top, it was completely unfair. But here's maybe the most powerful take of all. It came from the original poster herself, the 14-year-old girl. She admitted that even she was uncomfortable with how her mom handled it, saying, "All I wanted was an apology." The whole thing had spun out into something that even she didn't want. And we really have to remember why this question is such a landmine in the first place. In the comments, people shared these incredibly painful personal stories, reminding everyone that asking, "Are you pregnant?" can touch on so many raw nerves, body image issues, struggles with infertility, or even a recent pregnancy loss. It's so much more than just a question. It's a huge intrusion into someone's most personal space. So let's try and pull all these threads together. Why did this one little incident at a fair become such a perfect storm online? When you really get down to it, This whole story is about two very valid, very human instincts just colliding head-on. First, you have the impulse to protect. The employee trying to protect a writer, and the mother trying to protect her child. But that impulse smashes directly into our need for boundaries. The boundary around our private lives and the unspoken rules about how we handle conflict in public. Both sides have a point, and that's exactly why nobody could agree on who was right.
So in the end, this was never really about a ride operator and a teenager, was it? It's a perfect snapshot of our society trying to figure out these huge questions. Where does my personal responsibility end and a company's begin? When is it okay to have a public confrontation? What are the rules for just being around other people today? This one awkward question puts all of that on display.
And that just leaves us with one last really tricky question to chew on. The employee, the mother, they both probably thought they were doing the right thing, that they were protecting someone. But in doing so, they caused real embarrassment and real discomfort. So it makes you ask, when does the act of trying to protect someone actually cross the line and start causing harm?